like, well, and that's bull. That's wrong. So like 22 years old, I go to city business license. I want a pawn license. You can't get one. Well, why not?
The world of celebrity culture is no stranger to feuds, rivalries, and outspoken opinions. But when Rick Harrison, best known as the pragmatic, straight-talking patriarch of Pawn Stars, steps forward and names 5 celebrities he hates, the entertainment world takes notice. Rick, usually calm, composed, and businesslike on his hit History Channel series, is not known for stirring the pot. So when he broke that mold and made such a bold declaration, it reverberated beyond the pawn shop counters and into the wider sphere of pop culture. No quotes were involved, no sound bites taken out of context. This was a direct, personal vent from someone who rarely shows this side of himself. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. What made this revelation so impactful was the unexpected nature of it. Rick Harrison isn't typically seen hobnobbing with the Hollywood elite or engaging in Twitter wars with celebrities. His reputation is that of a grounded, no-nonsense businessman with a deep love for history, unusual artifacts, and witty bargaining tactics. So to hear him express strong feelings about people from an industry he's not fully part of, let alone negative ones, was in itself a significant event. It broke the image of Rick as just a guy behind the counter, revealing layers of opinion and personal judgment that fans hadn't previously seen. Rick didn't simply allude to disagreements or ideological misalignments. He directly stated that he hates 5 well-known celebrities. Not disliked, not found annoying, hated. That word carries a heavy weight, especially in an age where public statements live forever and often spiral into viral storms. He didn't mince words or offer soft-pedaled versions of his thoughts. He listed them with the same straightforwardness he might use when appraising a vintage coin or rare Civil War relic. This wasn't about attention-seeking or clickbait. This was Rick laying out who, in his view, had crossed the line. The first celebrity he mentioned was someone deeply involved in the world of social media fame and reality television, a field Rick evidently finds superficial and devoid of substance. The target, known for controversial behavior and a career rooted more in spectacle than skill, had apparently irritated Rick to the point of no return. His problem wasn't just personal dislike, it seemed tied to a broader cultural critique. Rick, who built his career around expertise, negotiation, and tangible value, seemed to view this individual as the antithesis of all that. In a way, his disdain carried a philosophical bent, exposing a deeper discontent with the current trajectory of celebrity culture, where fame can be divorced from merit or substance. Next came a musician, hugely successful, culturally influential, but perhaps symbolizing a kind of modern celebrity narcissism Rick finds intolerable. This person's flamboyant lifestyle, controversial public statements, and seemingly calculated persona were all characteristics that evidently repelled Rick. His reaction seemed to stem not from artistic critique, but from a visceral rejection of what this individual represents. The prioritization of image over integrity. Rick, whose public brand is largely built around being real, likely finds the layers of artifice intolerable. His naming of this musician suggested a distaste for the entire music industry's shift towards spectacle over artistry. The third name on his list was more surprising, a beloved actor with a reputation for being politically outspoken and socially progressive. Rick didn't specify a particular incident or comment that set him off, but it was clear that he viewed this actor as emblematic of a type of celebrity he deeply mistrusts. To Rick, perhaps, this individual represents a broader class of entertainers who use their platforms not just for performance, but for advocacy and messaging. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but for someone like Rick, who values pragmatism over idealism, it might come off as disingenuous or sanctimonious. His rejection of this person could easily be read as a critique of Hollywood's blending of entertainment and politics, which has only become more pronounced in recent years. The fourth celebrity he identified was from the world of sports. A controversial athlete with a history of divisive behavior, both on and off the field. While Rick isn't known for being especially vocal about sports, his dislike here may have stemmed from something deeper than game day antics. Athletes, especially those at the top of their profession, often carry themselves with a sense of invincibility, and perhaps that level of ego is something Rick found intolerable. The athlete in question had repeatedly made headlines for behavior that many found arrogant or inflammatory. To Rick, who operates a business where reputation and trustworthiness are everything, this kind of recklessness may have been a bridge too far. The fifth celebrity named was a controversial figure in the tech industry, a billionaire known as much for online provocations as for innovation. Rick's dislike seemed rooted in the way this figure leveraged wealth and influence to command attention at any cost. It's a sharp contrast to Rick's own values, where the value of something is rooted in its history, craftsmanship, or market worth, not in the ability to go viral or stir chaos. This individual's brashness and dominance over multiple cultural sectors likely didn't sit well with Rick, who prefers a more grounded, less disruptive way of doing things. The implications of Rick naming these celebrities go far beyond simple personal dislike. His comments offer a mirror into a larger cultural anxiety, one rooted in authenticity, merit, and the nature of fame in the modern age. Rick represents an old-school approach to public life. He earned his platform through work, family legacy, and expertise. In contrast, many of the people he named rose through newer avenues, social media, shock value, or branding strategies that emphasize spectacle over substance. His disdain, then, can be read as part of a larger generational or ideological clash about what it means to be successful, valuable, and worthy of public attention. There's also the matter of Rick's own public image. Known for his calm demeanor, deadpan humor, and encyclopedic knowledge of obscure items, he has cultivated an image of being detached from drama. This confession changes that. It adds a layer of complexity to how fans perceive him. No longer just a history buff who haggles with tourists and treasure seekers, Rick now appears more politically and culturally engaged than he let on. That shift in perception, whether welcomed or resisted, adds new depth to his role in the public eye. It also raises questions about how much of his inner world he's kept hidden behind the pawn counter. This moment also invites reflection on the nature of hate itself. It's a word that's often thrown around casually, but for Rick to use it suggests something deeper than annoyance or professional disagreement. It implies a moral or ethical line has been crossed, at least from his perspective. That's an important distinction because it elevates the conversation from petty celebrity gossip to something more philosophical. What does it mean to be irredeemable in someone's eyes? How does one earn that level of disdain? For Rick, it's clear that certain behaviors, be it arrogance, insincerity, recklessness, or opportunism, are enough to justify such strong emotion. The reaction to Rick's statement within the entertainment world was swift, if subdued. No direct clapbacks, no social media meltdowns, but plenty of murmurs and speculation. For many, it felt like a rare moment of honesty in a world where celebrity interactions are often scripted, guarded, or mediated by publicists. Rick's outburst, or declaration, depending on how one interprets it, cut through that artifice. It was raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. Whether people agreed with his assessments or not, there was a grudging respect for the bluntness of it. In an industry where people often speak in code or hide behind PR statements, Rick's directness felt like a breath of fresh air, or a slap in the face, depending on whose name was on the list. This also complicates the public's relationship with Rick. Up to this point, he had largely remained apolitical and impersonal in his public communications. He rarely weighed in on social issues, and when he did, it was usually in the form of offhand remarks rather than declarative statements. But by naming names and admitting to such visceral feelings, he shattered that neutrality. It's a move that carries risk. Some fans may feel alienated, especially if they admire one or more of the celebrities he called out. Others may rally behind him, appreciative of his willingness to say what many might be thinking, but are too afraid to voice. The entertainment ecosystem thrives on these kinds of disruptions, not necessarily scandals, but moments that shake the illusion of harmony and bring personal belief systems to the surface. Rick's statements did just that. They forced people to reconsider not just who he is, but what he stands for. And in doing so, he inadvertently opened a broader conversation about the state of celebrity culture today, its values, its pitfalls, and its sometimes toxic embrace of fame for fame's sake. That said, this wasn't a carefully curated interview meant to spark debate or sell a memoir. This was off the cuff, emotionally charged, and candid. The rawness of it added to its power. It wasn't performative, it wasn't calculated. That makes it even more fascinating. Because in a world where every statement is vetted, every appearance scrutinized, and every feud potentially monetized, Rick's honest admission stood out precisely because it didn't follow the rules. He wasn't trying to trend, he was just telling the truth, as he saw it. The celebrities he named may continue their careers unaffected. They are, after all, powerful figures in their own right, buoyed by massive followings and influential platforms. But Rick's statements act as a small but pointed jab in the larger narrative of their public lives. He becomes a voice of dissent in a chorus that often only sings praises. And that dissent, while it may not change public perception drastically, still matters. It adds nuance to the discourse. It reminds us that fame doesn't equate to universal admiration, that being loved by millions doesn't shield one from being loathed by others, especially those with a radically different worldview. The ripples from Rick's confession may not have culminated in dramatic confrontations or Twitter wars, but they remain significant for what they reveal. They show a man who, despite his affable television persona, has deep convictions about the world and the people who shape it. They reveal a cultural moment where the boundaries between entertainment, morality, and personal ethics are increasingly blurred, and they spotlight the rare, unvarnished expression of dislike in a climate where such honesty is rare and often punished. Rick Harrison's naming of those 5 celebrities he despises wasn't just a list. It was a statement about authenticity, about values, about what kind of fame is worth respecting, and perhaps most importantly, about the courage it takes to speak one's truth in a world built on carefully managed facades. Whether one agrees with his choices or not, there's no denying that his willingness to speak so plainly carved out a moment of rare clarity in the often murky world of fame. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Rick Harrison exposing these 5 celebrities? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.